Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. This time we're going deep into Matthew McConaughey's Greenlights.
Oh yeah,
Have you had a chance to check this one out?
I have. It's really something.
It's not just a memoir,
No, not at all.
it's more like, as he describes it, a playbook.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
And it's just jam-packed with all of his adventures in life, these big kind of perspective shifting moments.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that really stands out about this book.
Yeah.
Is that it's not just about, his career or his successes.
Right.
It's really about these moments that kind of forced him to look at the world in a different way.
And you know what?
Yeah.
There are plenty of stories that are just laugh out loud funny.
Oh, absolutely. He's got such a unique way of telling stories.
Yeah.
And, he doesn't shy away from the more embarrassing or difficult moments either.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so relatable.
Totally.
Because, everybody has those moments.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It makes you feel like you're right there with him. So, what's so compelling about Greenlights is this core message of optimism.
Yeah, it's really refreshing.
It's about seeing that even when things are tough, even when you step in it, as he puts it, there's always a way to learn and adapt and to find those green lights to move forward.
Exactly. It's about finding those opportunities, even in the challenges.
So our goal in this deep dive is to really try and pull out those key insights, those lessons that we can all take away and apply to our own lives.
Yeah, and I think the stories themselves are just so entertaining, they're going to stick with you.
So let's jump right into this central idea of green lights.
Okay.
Because it's not just about luck. It's not just about good fortune.
Right. It's more than that.
He kind of sets up this idea of like a traffic system, green, yellow, and red lights.
Yeah, it's a really powerful metaphor.
So the green lights, those are the go-aheads. Those are those affirmations.
Out of clear paths.
Success, joy, new beginnings.
Yeah, those moments when everything seems to be going your way.
But what I find really interesting, and I think what will be helpful for you as you're listening, is how he reframes yellow and red lights.
Exactly. He doesn't see them as just bad things.
Right.
They're not just obstacles. They're not just stops.
Right.
He actually sees them as potential green lights in disguise.
And that's a huge shift in perspective.
It is. It's like instead of seeing them as things that are holding you back, you start to see them as opportunities to learn, to grow, to maybe adjust your course a little bit.
Sometimes what you think you want isn't actually what you need.
Exactly.
And so those interruptions can steer you towards a better path, a more fulfilling path.
I think we've all had experiences like that.
Right.
Where something that seemed like a setback at the time actually ended up being a blessing in disguise.
Absolutely. It's not just waiting for things to go your way.
Right.
He talks about catching green lights.
Oh, yeah.
So what does he mean by that?
Well, he emphasizes two key things. Skill and timing.
Skill. Okay.
And skill involves things like your intention, your understanding of the situation, your resilience, your discipline. He believes that you can actually cultivate green lights.
Oh, wow.
By making choices.
Okay.
By putting in the hard work. By being prepared.
Okay, so that's skill. But what about timing?
Timing's a little bit more tricky.
Okay.
Because sometimes being in the right place at the right time is just pure luck.
Yeah.
But McConaughey also believes that intuition plays a role.
Okay.
And maybe even fate.
Right, so how do you balance those two?
Well, you can't really control fate, but you can develop your intuition.
Okay.
By paying attention to your gut feelings, by being open to new possibilities.
So what about those times when those red lights appear?
Yeah, those setbacks, the disappointments.
Those things that we all face.
Right. That's where he introduces this idea of getting relative with the inevitable.
What does that mean?
So the event itself might be unavoidable.
Okay.
But you can choose how you react to it.
That's powerful.
You have the power to decide whether you're going to persist. Whether you're going to pivot, or whether you're going to concede.
So persist, meaning keep pushing.
Yeah, keep trying, keep going after what you want.
Okay.
Pivot means to change your strategy, to adjust your approach.
Okay.
And concede means to accept the outcome and move on.
So it's really about recognizing when to do each of those things.
Right. It's about knowing when to fight, when to adapt, and when to let go.
And McConaughey's life, his whole story, is really full of examples of this.
Yeah, he's had his share of ups and downs.
So let's dive into his early years.
Okay.
Because, those are always so formative.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where did this whole perspective, this whole outlook on life, where did it begin?
Well, he grew up in Texas.
Okay.
In a pretty lively family, to say the least.
Okay.
And even some of his early stories
give
you a glimpse into the kind of environment that shaped him.
Like what?
Like, his dad had this one rule about his name.
What was that?
Don't name him Kelly.
Don't name him Kelly. That was it.
That's it. One rule.
Wow.
And when he was learning to swim, his dad just threw him in the river.
Threw him right in.
Just tossed him in.
Wow. Trial by fire, or I guess trial by water in this case.
Exactly. A very direct approach.
Yeah.
No messing around.
And he talks about how he led his under-12 soccer league in red cards.
As a goalie.
As a goalie.
I know. It's pretty funny.
That's amazing.
He kind of shows that intensity that he has.
Yeah.
Even from a young age.
But beyond those kind of funny anecdotes,
yeah,
there were some really core values that his parents instilled in him.
Oh, absolutely.
Like what?
Well, his dad really emphasized the importance of mastering the basics.
Okay.
Before focusing on individuality.
Mm-hmm.
He used this football analogy.
Okay.
You got to know how to block and tackle before you can be a wide receiver.
Right.
And I think that applies to so many things in life.
Yeah.
Whether you're learning a new skill, starting a business, whatever it is.
Right. Yeah. You got to have that strong foundation.
Exactly. You got to get those fundamentals down.
And his mom, she had this kind of unconventional advice during a 7th grade poetry contest.
Oh, yeah, I remember that story.
So what was that advice?
Well, basically, she told him to just find a poem that he liked, even if he didn't write it himself.
Really?
And to submit that.
Wow.
So it was more about connecting with the emotion of the poem than about following the rules.
So it was about authenticity over, strict adherence to the guidelines.
Exactly.
Okay, so his dad sounds like quite the character.
Oh, he definitely was.
He's got all these great sayings.
I'll make a good one.
The one that really stood out to me was he'd rather lose money having fun than make money being bored.
That's a great one.
And I think that really speaks to a certain philosophy on life.
It does. It's about prioritizing experiences.
Yeah.
And joy.
Yeah.
Even if it means maybe not always making the most practical financial decisions.
Right.
But, life is short.
Yeah.
And I think he really instilled that in Matthew.
Yeah. And their relationship, his parents, was pretty interesting too.
To say the least.
2 divorces to each other.
Yeah, they were passionate.
And then all the stories about his dad breaking his mom's middle finger.
Oh, yeah, during arguments.
It's intense.
It was. But they also clearly loved each other deeply.
So it was complicated.
Very complicated.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of environment, that kind of dynamic, probably taught him a lot about navigating conflict.
Yeah, about resilience.
About compromise.
Yeah.
About, not always getting what you want, but finding a way to make things work.
And then you've got the family history, which is just wild.
Oh, yeah. His family is full of characters.
Cattle thieving, an Al Capone bodyguard.
It's like something out of a movie.
It's incredible.
It is. And I think that kind of background, that kind of legacy, probably gave him a sense of, not being afraid to be different, not being afraid to stand out.
Right. Like, anything's possible.
Exactly.
And then you've got the story of his adopted brother, Pat.
Oh, yeah. Pat's great.
And his reason for meeting his birth parents?
He just wanted to see if his dad was bald.
Which is so practical.
It is. It's like, well, I just want to know if I'm going to lose my hair.
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
And even Matthew himself was an accident.
What?
Yeah, his dad initially wasn't even sure if he was his.
Oh, wow.
So, right from the start,
there
was this sense of, unexpectedness.
Yeah. Yeah, like a little bit of chaos, maybe?
A little bit of chaos, but also a lot of love.
Okay, and those early ass whoopings.
Oh, yeah, he talks about those quite a bit.
Sound like they were pretty formative.
They were. They were definitely a form of discipline.
Yeah.
And they came with some pretty clear lessons.
Like what?
Like, don't answer to Matt.
Oh, okay.
Don't say I hate you.
Okay.
Don't say I can't.
Yeah.
Don't lie about stealing a pizza.
Wow, so it sounds like there were some clear boundaries.
Yeah, there were definitely some lines you didn't cross.
And even, the more extreme examples.
Like his dad pushing his brother Mike out of the car.
8 miles from school.
8 miles from school, yeah.
Because Jesus walked everywhere.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Oh, my gosh.
But, it's all part of the McConaughey family lore.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And the story about the pipe-selling rivalry between his dad and his brother Mike turning into an actual physical fight.
Yeah.
That's pretty intense.
A 2x4 involved.
Yeah, things got heated.
Wow.
But even the smaller stories.
Yeah.
Like the bet with Pat's bladder control.
Okay, what was that one?
Well, they bet on whether Pat could hold it while drinking 2 beers.
Oh, my gosh.
On the way to friend.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Pat taking the blame for his teammates smoking marijuana.
Yeah, he was always looking out for his friends.
That's loyal.
It is, and it shows a lot about his character.
So it sounds like his early life was, kind of a training ground.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
For dealing with those red and yellow lights.
Absolutely. He learned a lot about resilience, about perseverance.
So how did those experiences shape how he dealt with his own mistakes?
Well, he really emphasizes the importance of discipline.
Oh.
Of learning the fundamentals before trying to take shortcuts.
Right.
Or express too much individuality too soon.
Okay.
He uses this phrase, learn to sail before you fly.
Learn to sail before you fly. I like that.
Yeah, it's about mastering the basics before you try to get too fancy.
And he talks about this contrast between wanting his dad's approval and being a mama's boy.
Yeah, he had both of those sides to him.
And I think that's something a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah, I think we all have those different influences in our lives that kind of pull us in different directions.
And even something as small as his dad's distinction between biceps and triceps.
Oh, yeah. Biceps for show, triceps for dough.
Biceps for show, triceps for dough.
Exactly. It's about prioritizing substance over style.
I love that.
It's about, having the strength to actually do the work.
So what are the triceps you're focusing on in your own life?
That's a good question.
What are the things that are really going to move you forward?
Yeah, the things that are going to make a real difference.
And then they moved from Uvalde to Longview.
Yeah, during the oil boom.
Okay, and that kind of marked a shift.
It did.
From this grounded dealing mentality.
Yeah.
To one of dreaming.
To a place where anything felt possible.
Yeah, okay, so that's a big shift.
It was.
And then there are the more adventurous mistakes.
Like building a 13-story treehouse.
A 13 stories?
13 stories, yeah.
That's incredible.
It is. And he did it by secretly taking lumber from a nearby yard.
Oh, wow.
So, a little bit of resourcefulness there.
Yeah, a little bit of mischief.
Maybe a little bit of mischief, but it also shows that drive, that ambition.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't always channeled in the most conventional way.
And then the oil of mink acne treatment?
Yeah.
And the Accutane lawsuit?
That's a story.
Sounds like quite a detour.
It was. And it ultimately went nowhere.
But it probably taught him something about the unexpected nature of life.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Things don't always go according to plan.
And sometimes the detours can be more interesting than the original route.
And then the stolen pizza incident.
Oh, yeah. That one's really telling.
Because it wasn't the theft itself that upset his father.
It was the lie.
A lie.
That really hurt his dad.
So it really highlights the importance of honesty.
Yeah, even when you mess up, it's always better to be truthful.
It's interesting how he connects that to losing dates and fun.
Yeah.
When he became too reliant on his new car.
Oh, yeah. Leaning on that candy red 300ZX.
It's all about external validation.
Yeah, he realized that the outward appearance of success wasn't enough.
Right.
That wasn't bringing him the happiness he was looking for.
So it's really about what truly matters.
Exactly. It's about those genuine connections, those real experiences.
And then he goes to Australia.
Yeah, as a Rotary Exchange student.
And it sounds like that was a major turning point for him.
It was a year of real self-discovery.
But it started with a bit of a bait and switch.
Yeah, with the descriptions of his host family's location.
Okay, so what happened?
Well, he was told it was this nice suburban area.
Okay.
But it turned out to be much more rural than he expected.
Okay.
Like way more rural.
So what was the actual town?
Warnervale, population 305.
Wow, that's a far cry from suburbia.
Yeah, it was a big adjustment for him.
And the interactions with his host, Norvell Dooley.
Oh, yeah, Norvell.
They were pretty interesting, too.
They were. Norvell had some very specific rules.
Like what?
Like, you couldn't call a cheeseburger a cheeseburger.
What?
You had to call it a hamburger with cheese.
What?
I don't know. That was just Norvell.
That's hilarious.
And he wasn't allowed to celebrate American Olympic victories.
What?
Yeah, Norvell didn't like that.
Wow.
So it was definitely a culture clash.
Yeah, it sounds like a bit of a controlling environment.
It was, but, it forced Matthew to adapt.
And he had all these different jobs.
Yeah, bank teller, boat mechanic, assistant golf pro.
He was really trying to find his footing.
Yeah, he was exploring, trying new things.
And then there's the moment where he refuses to call his hosts Mom and Pop.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
That was a boundary he wasn't willing to cross.
It was, and it led to him moving in with another family.
Okay, so that was a turning point.
It was. He was standing up for himself.
And even after the tornado incident?
Yeah, when he moved in with the Harringtons.
Norvell tried to keep him.
Yeah, it was kind of awkward.
But ultimately, the farewell party, organized by his host families.
Yeah, it showed that he had made some real connections.
And that year, that whole experience in Australia,
It was transformative.
it really forced him to lose his crutches, as he says.
Yeah, to rely on himself.
To embrace the unknown.
Which he calls the monster.
So he's facing this monster head on.
Yeah, he's not shying away from it.
So coming back to Texas, he had some big decisions to make.
About his future.
Yeah, so he chose to be a Mustang.
Over a Longhorn.
At the time, not knowing about his father's financial struggles.
Yeah, that must have been tough.
Yeah, it was a moment of youthful independence.
And maybe a little bit of rebellion.
Yeah.
But then, the whole psychology final thing.
What happened there?
Well, he decided not to study.
What?
Yeah, he skipped studying altogether.
Wow.
And instead, he borrowed this book.
What was the book?
The Greatest Salesman in the World.
And it changed everything.
It did. It really sparked something in him.
Okay, so that led to the pivotal phone call with his dad.
About switching from law school to film school.
And his dad's response.
Well, don't half-ass it.
Oh, classic.
It's such a great line.
So direct.
It's just, pure McConaughey.
And it's about commitment.
Yeah, whatever you do, do it fully.
Don't hold back.
Give it your all.
And then he's balancing film school with fraternity life.
And working at the Catfish Station.
The Catfish Station? What was that?
It was this predominantly black blues bar.
Wow.
And he made some really good friends there.
Like who?
Like Tammy.
Tammy, okay.
She was a waitress there.
And so he's really immersing himself in different worlds.
Yeah, he's getting outside of his comfort zone.
Expanding his horizons.
Exactly.
And then he meets Don Phillips.
Oh, yeah, Don Phillips.
And that leads to Dazed and Confused.
And all right.
That iconic line.
It's a classic.
It's incredible.
It's funny because he almost didn't even get the part.
Really?
Yeah, he had to fight for it.
Wow.
But he knew he was right for the role.
And then his father passes away.
Yeah, right around the same time.
So it's this bittersweet moment.
It is. The beginning of his career and the end of his father's life.
And he talks about this metaphor, the genie's in the steam.
What does he mean by that?
It's about those intangible aspects of success.
Yeah, those things you can't really explain.
Right.
The magic, the luck, the timing.
Yeah, and that his arrival in Hollywood.
Mistaking Sunset Drive for Sunset Boulevard.
Oh my God.
It's a classic Hollywood tale.
The reality versus the dream.
Exactly. And then his first meeting with Don Phillips.
Naked with a boner.
I know, it's hilarious.
What an introduction.
Unforgettable.
And then the European motorcycle trip.
With Rory Cochrane and Cole Hauser.
Fueled by Johann's generosity.
Johann was amazing.
He just gave them these motorcycles.
Yeah, he was incredibly kind.
And even when Rory wrecked the Ducati.
Johann was still there for them.
That's amazing.
It is. It's a reminder that there are good people out there.
So he gets back, gets an agent, and lands a baseball movie role.
Yeah, things are starting to take off.
And then he talks about his philosophy on betting.
Oh, yeah. He's got a whole system.
And it's not just about the money.
It's about the I knew it moments.
He loves that feeling of being right.
Yeah, he's a bit of a gambler at heart.
But then there's the Super Bowl betting disaster.
With his brother Pat.
They bet on the Bills.
I know. What were they thinking?
And the cab driver?
Oh, yeah, the cab driver who called them out on it.
It's a classic story.
It's a reminder that even when you think you know something,
you could be wrong.
And then the lesson he learned from Scorpion Spring.
About preparing for freedom.
You got to be ready.
Yeah, you got to put in the work.
So when the opportunity arises...
you can seize it.
And then he quits acting classes.
But he's still learning.
He's engaging in this Socratic dialogue of self-reflection.
Yeah, he's constantly questioning himself.
Challenging his own beliefs.
Exactly. And he spends some time in a monastery.
For solitude and reflection.
Yeah, he's seeking answers.
And then his mom's appearance on hard copy.
That must have been tough.
Yeah. A real invasion of privacy.
And it strained their relationship.
But then there's the wet dream.
About the Amazon and African tribesmen.
Which leads to his solo trips to Peru and Mali.
Those trips were transformative.
He's really following his intuition.
Yeah, he's chasing those dreams.
And he customizes his van, Cosmo.
For his travels with Mrs. Hood.
And he's spending time in trailer parks.
Yeah, he's drawn to those communities.
He likes the characters.
Yeah, and the sense of community. And then there's the late-night conga drumming incident.
Oh, yeah. That led to his arrest.
A little harmless fun gone wrong.
Yeah, sometimes things escalate quickly.
And he talks about the contrast between romantic comedies and the more intense roles.
Like Reign of Fire. Yeah, where he shaves his head.
He's really pushing himself.
Taking on new challenges.
Exactly.
And then there's the existential challenge.
Yeah.
The bad karma gesture.
The Dragon Slayer workout.
He's really going through a period of intense self-examination.
Yeah, he's trying to figure things out.
And then he meets Michelle in Mali. And they wrestle in the big dirt pit.
What?
Yeah, it's a really powerful scene in the book.
And then Michelle walks him to the next village in silence.
It's a moment of profound connection.
And he comes back to L.A. feeling changed.
And then there's the Rain Man imitation with his brother.
And the misbehaving service dog.
It's hilarious.
And his don't diet tips.
They're pretty funny.
And then the story about Coach Daryl Royal helping Larry with his drug problem.
Yeah, that's a really touching story.
And then he hits his mid-30s.
And starts to think about family.
And he has another wet dream.
About his future family.
And then he meets Camila Alves.
At the Hyde Club.
And his mom's advice.
To approach her directly.
And their connection despite language barriers.
And her answer when he asks what she's looking for?
Change.
Yeah, it's a powerful word.
And they move into the Airstream.
The canoe.
In Malibu.
It's a pretty unconventional love story.
And the phone call with his mom about Camila's pregnancy.
And her initial disapproval.
And then the whiteout retraction.
It's hilarious.
And then they buy a home in Austin.
And have 3 kids.
And he realizes that it all does matter.
Yeah, that's a big realization.
And then he's dissatisfied with rom-com roles.
And decides to step away.
Even though it's risky.
But Camila supports him.
And he goes through this dry weather period.
But it leads to something better.
Yeah, he becomes a new good idea. And his career takes off again.
With the Lincoln Lawyer.
Killer John.
Dallas Buyers Club.
And he wins an Oscar.
It's an amazing comeback story.
And he realizes he's more alive in his movies than in his own life.
Yeah.
And he decides to live his favorite character.
And he takes some time for self-reflection.
And he finds friendship with himself.
That's a beautiful concept.
And he concludes by emphasizing the value of his upbringing.
Yeah.
And eliminating what doesn't serve him.
And pursuing what feeds him.
And he hopes the book can be a helpful tool.
For all of us.
And he talks about the science of satisfaction.
Designing your weather or dancing with the storm.
So McConaughey's journey is full of twists and turns.
Yeah.
But ultimately it's a story about finding your own way.
About embracing the ups and downs.
And creating your own green lights.
Exactly.
So as you go forward,
yeah,
think about those green lights, yellow lights, and red lights in your own life.
And remember that you have the power to choose how you react to them.
And maybe those outdated red lights are actually opportunities in disguise.
You never know.
So embrace your own journey.
Yeah.
With all of its twists and turns.
And create a life that you love.
We'll see you next time.
Take care.